All right, everybody, Nephew Scrum for Monday, June 5th. We have 10 days left, 10 calendar days left. We're making progress, but let's take a look at the board. Okay. Let me split. I have to do every day. Okay. Put this over here. And I can see people at the same time. All right. All right. So I wanted to call attention to this issue. If somebody can pick it up. So this.
I just sent a comment on that, John. So someone should try out the link I sent. If it works, then we just have to create a package like with for CNI.
Okay.
Just install that. Just install this.
All right. So who wants to volunteer for that? This is getting the. So the issue is this: we get the workload clusters up and running. They all come up. So now you've got kind clusters running, but when we try to deploy the free5gc package, it won't come up because it needs MongoDB, and that needs a persistent volume, and there's no storage class defined or set up. And so we need somebody to update the packages or create a package or whatever it is. So anybody want to jump in on that one?
See, the difference is, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Are we using the MongoDB community operator to deploy it, or are we doing it manually?
No, it is a part of free5gc, so it's a KPT package.
I see. So which package in? So I'm seeing all the free5gc images. Which one manages MongoDB?
It's NRF.
free5gc-cp package. It's the package from Orange that deploys all the free5gc ones that aren't under the management of our operator.
Did I hear somebody say it's an NSF?
NRF.
It's NRF.
NRF.
NRF. Actually, I'm surprised a little bit because I tested last week, right? So I created a kind cluster using Ansible, and it started for me.
Right.
Yeah,
so
but the difference is the following, right? Is that when you install kind through Cluster API, it only installs the bare bone. So it doesn't install CNIs. And so far, we didn't pay attention to storage class. So but the link that I just sent is basically what kind as a CLI tool does. It does the kind bare bone, plus it installs a default CNI, as well as a default storage class, which is the link I just sent. So I'm of the opinion that if you install this, it will work because it's the same storage class that kind uses. And so the same as with the CNI, what I just did is I took the CNI kindnet from the internet, installed it, tried to see it works, right? So that's the only, so I think if someone could install the clusters from through our automation, and then add this on top just to see whether free5gc comes up, and then we just build a package of it, and then we make it part of the install process. I think that's all that we have to do. But that's a bit the background, Dennis. So if you do kind from CLI, it will do that for you automatically.
Okay.
So if you'll see there's a kindnet package that Wim put together that installs the CNI. Probably, what are you saying? We probably need an equivalent for this, as well as then it needs to get plumbed through the automation. So it'd be a good way for people to see how the automation.
So that is, if someone can try it out to see whether it works, I can help with them to build the package. That's not a problem. So that's like 10 minutes of work. But I would like, because I'm busy with the specialization right now, so if someone could try that link out, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's a good way for people to dig in and try to see the pieces fitting together. So,
I think I can take a look. The problem for me is that I don't have access to GCP. If anybody can create virtual machine give access, and I will try to test it.
Yeah, sure. I can here actually. Why don't I just do this?
It will be really nice because I will be able to do more testing there, like, and it will be more real from perspective of our procedures, how we create Nephew.
Yeah, just a minute. Sorry.
Find the workspace.
Yeah, sorry. Exactly. I don't, you know what? It's easier to just.
Probably a different Chrome window when you're not logged in as Google.
Exactly. If I log in as the Nephew account, it's easier. What did it just do? Go away. Okay. Sorry. Now I'm on. You probably can't see what I'm doing anymore. I'll just give you. I just need your. If you just. I can do this afterward. Des, just give me your. Do you have a Gmail or a Google account? If you send that to me, I can give you access to the Nephew project where you can spin things up.
Give me a second, please. I'm going to do that.
Just send
in Slack.
Yeah, and I'll do it after the call. You guys don't have to watch me do that. I thought it would be real quick, but then it wasn't as easy as. All right. Awesome. Then we will assign that. All right. This is another little one. I raised this question. Right now, we require you to port forward using queue control, and if we put it on a load balancer IP, now that we have Metal LB in the sandbox, we could just expose the web UI, and like there's no authentication right now on the web UI, which is probably fine. But you still need to tunnel that with the SSH tunnel. So like it's kind of, a huge giant hole, but none of this is production anyway. So does anybody object, I guess, to us sticking it on a load balancer port and avoiding one more command people have to do?
Why don't we use Metal LB and expose UI as load balancer IP address?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So the only reason we didn't do it forward, we didn't have it, and also, all right, I'm just going to put it in here. Is anybody interested in doing this? This would be, step one at least, is more about going in and making sure that it's updating the package for the web UI to do this. Although, yeah, it's a little different because sandbox versus, we have to decide, but anyway. We can talk about it. Is anybody interested in doing it, or crickets? Chirp, chirp. All right. We'll just leave it there.
Well, I can take a look at after I'm done, let's say, with that CSI.
Yeah, of course. I'm just hoping to get, we're just trying to make sure everybody has an opportunity. That's fantastic. I'm happy to. That was you, Dennis, right? Yeah.
Dennis, yes. Dennis can take everything that is on the to-do list.
No, well, I'm saying like don't assign me right now, but if nobody picks it up, I hope.
If you finish the other one, that's right. And we'll just leave that one as a to-do.
One at a time.
Okay, we got that.
I'm sequential. I cannot do in parallel.
All right, I'm not going to go through the epics. I don't know.
Okay, so we discussed this one on Friday with Steven. So, okay, it's a bit of a our latest thought was to what we were. What the problem is here is that the SMF needs to know about the UPFs, right?
Right.
And so we were trying to see what to do, and our latest conclusion that we reached with Steven is let's add all the UPFs that are in the packages inside of the package, and we link the SMF towards that. Now, one of the questions that we have, John, if in the package, what I did not test yet, I'm going to test it probably today or tomorrow. is today we can do injection. Can you do multiple injections of all the resources of a given type, of a given kind?
So this is, no.
I don't think so. It's only one, right? So yeah, so that's what I
Yeah,
told Steven.
Yeah, it's kind of messed, like this is a shortcoming. So this is one of in that sort of like redux of package variant. So you would be able to do that, but not in the current version. That's one of the, one of the problems.
So Steven, then we have to find another way.
Yeah.
To achieve this.
So right now, so on Friday, FYI, the conclusion, at least the one thing we did reach a bit of a verdict was, so in a topology controller, I'm currently implementing it, which is to push out all the UPF package PVS out before we, and then monitor the package revisions before we start pushing out SMF. So that part, so we can take it out of the specializations. I can contain that within topology controller to do this. The second part of the problem is how do you get that information in the SMF package, which is what Wim just talked about. We were hoping, because the information is largely already contained in UPF deployment, so we're hoping that we can sort of like replicate that UPF deployment somehow into the SMF package. But,
so, okay, so there's two things.
There's
two things. One is I'm hoping I don't think we should depend on the topology controller in order to deploy and make a call in this release, because I'm still worried that's not going to make it, and we don't have that much time. So if the first statement you said put a dependency on that's a concern for me. The second piece is you could inject a list. You could inject a UPF deployment, which would be kind of weird, but you could inject a list as opposed to injecting an individual, 10 individual items. It's awkward and weird, but you could do it, although you wouldn't know when the list is done. All right, yeah, or we could have
so the reason we are here is the following: is we tried. So every time we look at the things, we see that we need more parameters.
Yeah.
So initially it was IPs and endpoints, but now it's DNNs. It's a whole jebang.
Yeah,
so
the IP, the UE to UE pool, the N3 or N9.
You're saying the SMF has to know all of that stuff about the EPFs? Or?
It's very constrained to 3.5GC, by the way, but it is what it is, right? So
right, yeah.
So
okay, so let's break off afterwards.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, okay. We can discuss this after.
There's still issues to resolve there. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have anyone? I saw there was I can't see my participant list anymore.
I didn't see anyone with the UI.
Okay, so we'll move on. They do have there is a PR out for the package variant resource editor, but I'm not sure about the package variant set. Okay. This one, I believe we said was, okay, this hasn't merged yet, so we need to review this. Okay. What's the status of getting a review on this? I haven't reviewed it, but Tal or somebody, do we have a review? What's the status here?
Actually, Steven knows the code really well, so he can just mark it review. And then he's look at it already.
I thought I LGTM'd this. I didn't.
No, this is the second one.
That's the second one. That's the one. That's the conclusion of, I guess, when we met on Thursday night. Okay. That was the one that. Okay.
And I posted somewhere in the comment the test result. Everything came up.
Nice.
Okay, I'll look at after this meeting.
Okay, awesome. All
right. I sorry, it should have been 4 PR, but I figure 1 PR is easier. It covered 4 issues.
It's okay. It depends on how big they are, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Okay. This one,
This one.
Denise, I thought we.
Oh, wait, before you go on, John, can you go back? Sorry. You see the one above that? That one is also, part of the other one.
We just talked about this. I think this is the one. Yeah, this will close when this merges.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. Why was this one still open? I don't remember. Did we?
Well, we decided that what I need to do another test once we have, say, packaged operator, and once we can create UPF, IMF, and SMF using, let's say, Nephi, right? Because I deployed them manually, applying kubectl apply like UPF deployment YAML kind, but we need to deploy them by Nephi, right?
Yes. Okay.
So once that is done, then I can call is successful. I guess it will be part of the final demo or whatever we are going to show.
Okay, cool. And this one, this is not merged either. It does have an LGTM. It needs an approval, it looks like. So Tal, when you LGTM, you need to approve and LGTM if you want it to merge, or somebody else needs to do an approval too.
Interesting. So I thought that was merged. So Danny's been testing AMF operator, right? AMF controller.
No, well, I was testing, but again, in order to speed up a little bit, I just what has been applied, but here I think I just did it manually, or like it's part of the cleanup process. I see.
Okay.
Well, I didn't approve on purpose. There was another reviewer, but I can go ahead and approve. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's appropriate. Yeah, usually we want a reviewer.
But yeah, I'll go ahead and approve this. It's fine.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. And then this was this has been manually tested. It works, but we want an end-to-end test. So how do we
previous
do?
One we can close, right?
What's that?
The previous one we could close. Let's leave one open to do the end-to-end, right? It was a manual test of you around SIM. We could close that because this one seems to be an end-to-end call again. Oh no, or am I wrong?
No, this one is vertical scaling, right?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, this is vertical.
I'll shut up.
Okay. This is one I think that's also solved by number 22, which we're going to merge. Okay.
Yep.
And this one has an open PR out for. It looks like it's not linked here, but. All right, I can try to do that. These are in progress. We saw some. We did some reviews on some of this stuff, but was this updated here, or you were just doing the code right now?
Yeah, not updated. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't sent out the copy out yet, so I gotta do that.
And then these are dependent on those pieces that are in review. End-to-end integration test repo. Okay, so Vish couldn't make it today. Okay. Does anybody else have a status update on this? Maybe it'll be in SIG release next, if people are going to the next meeting. So this is the thing I really need is how to. I mean, I'm thinking we could just have a directory in there where we just put a bunch of files and we just execute them. But so if we can resolve that maybe in the SIG release meeting, then we can start some of these things that need E2E tests. We can start to add them in. This is the same issue basically. I think we said. Yeah, so That's the same issue. Okay, this one. I think this is. Oh, so and you just started. I know this morning you pinged me.
Yep. Yep. I'm looking at the two shell scripts and trying to see if I can run it, modify it, and run them on my laptop.
Okay, great.
Basically, just verify more than any original work.
Yeah, like I don't know that there's anything GCE specific, but of course it's based on a specific image from so that's the where it gets a little bit hard to know whether there's dependencies.
Yeah.
Okay, then this one is similar. Like, can we? There's documenting how to set it up for testing and documenting how to set it up for non-kind clusters.
Yeah. So right now, because I work on SMF, I have a local environment, but it's not using Nephew packages to.
Yeah.
So that's the trick.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So is that? I know you said you don't have as much time as you did. So what's your plan with respect to that? As far as being, would you be able to try that out today, or what is the additional coverage? Is what I'm asking. I guess.
I'm actually thinking of talking to the other side and see if I can push my meetings back, like post 15, and then spend more time on this. But I'll get back to you probably on Slack.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, those meeting has precedence, right?
Of course. Yeah. Understood. So Bala, I took a look at these issues you had over the weekend. All these looked good to me. So if we can just start a skeleton in the docs repo,
yeah,
I think that'll be.
I'll start doing that. Yeah.
Awesome. And then
there is one more actually. If you scroll down, there is one for release notes too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. If you can take a look at that one too.
Yeah, I looked at this one. I thought I looked at this one too. Maybe I just didn't comment, but yeah, this. Okay. I mean, this is a great starting point. I'm sure we'll add stuff and it'll change over time, but this looks like a good starting point for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, like this is a big one. Both of these. So.
Yeah, I know.
It's not going to be perfect. Okay. Yeah. Do we have Simon? I don't see Simon. Okay. Yeah. So. What's this? Oh yeah. You already built the image. That's what that is. But okay. All right. All right. So we'll try and follow up with Simon offline on that. Okay. Yeah. I think that. This one. You have a PR for this one.
Yeah, there is 3 open PRs. It's not fully closed yet. I think there's another, but it's an issue where I put down what I'm doing. So there is one very big PR because I had to touch all the test files in all our things. So I have to change every test file. So I think it's like 400 files I had to touch.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, there was
it was a huge thing, but yeah, I think it's done. But the PR is big, but yeah.
Okay, well, I think, I saw that. I don't know where that issue is, because it should be in the board. It's the one Vish was working on, verifying things, and he went through.
I also laid down my plan, what I still have to do. So if those 3 PRs are approved, I will start. I have built the images myself with my local thing, but they don't build because of the Go mods files. So I'll build the packages, but I have the full thing running, by the way. But it's not yet merged, so it has to be merged.
This is the one. Yeah. Okay. So let's try to get. I think you had here. Yeah. So yes. I'll take a look at these today. We'll try to get these merged today, and then. Then it's just a matter, I think, right now of fixing these few issues and just running through the script multiple times, trying to get. So one of the things, like I said in the E2E, and we can talk about it at the SIG release meeting maybe, is like I want to get, like I should be able to just pass in a flag to that same gcloud command, and it would actually run all of these tests, right? So I think we can get there pretty soon. Okay, awesome. Well then, look at that. We finally finished a Scrum in half an hour. Is there anything else anybody wanted to raise? Do you want to chat?
I have a question regarding end-to-end tests. So like, when we actually do expect some stuff for network attached definitions to be ready for RDC functions, and what else? UPF deployment, IMF deployment, and SMF deployment objects. I guess like Wim, you or somebody from package specialization are working on that.
Yeah, so this is going. I want to finish this ASAP. I already pasted here the content of a UPF deployment in that PR, in that issue, I think.
So these three PRs that are showing on the screen, when we merge those, Dennis, then I think that should be.
So I need to do a bit more. Because I need to build packages, right? I need to build the images. So there is a few more things to be done, but this blocks me right now. I couldn't proceed unless these trees gets approved, and then. But so I can give you already a UPF deployment NADs and UPFs if you want.
No, I don't need any NADs, right? I have NADs. What I need is a kept package which I can apply through Nephio, basically to test full.
No, but you will not. No, but what we will do is that so when we approve, config sync will apply the NADs and the UPF deployment straight onto the thing. So we will not the package that we will have, config sync will automatically configure that onto the cluster. You see?
I think he's saying he needs that package. So like I think we're almost there, Denise. Like I think that that's what he's working on. Like these three merge, and then he said he needs a couple more packages, and then we should theoretically be in a position to do it. Except for the issue we have to work out with the SMF configuration thing, but.
Yeah, but then you get them running. You can ping between them, but you cannot do. So bringing up PFCP is the open point basically.
RCP.
No, and for the PFCP between SMF and UPF, that's where we have this problem of conveying all the information that the SMF needs to be able to.
Yeah, but that we will do like using existing 3.5 CP packages, right? There is no.
No, but the parameters. You need the parameters from specialization to be aligned with the other parameters, right? So that's the problem.
Okay, but for the demo, we can do that. Just put into the package some pre-generated, let's say.
No, you cannot because the pools needs to be aligned with what you get from the DNNs, right? So I don't think you can do that.
Yeah,
but we specify
let's go step by step, right? Yeah. So the first thing is let's get the CP package working. So Dennis has a task for that. Let's get these approved and get it so that everything gets deployed. And yeah, some things will be broken, and then we'll work on resolving the broken things. But I think we'll get to the place where we can like get the whole end-to-end thing flow going, even though there's problems with it. We have right now some problems with it, but then we'll start to resolve those. Yeah, Anne.
The PFCP and the DNN pools and CIDR. Wim, are you talking to Stephen about this also?
Yes.
And then it's about the UPF support from SMF.
Yes, I talked to Stephen on Friday about it. Yeah.
So, because once you guys agree on how to do it, I think some SMF code may need to be changed to support that.
That's correct. Probably, yes, you're right. But at the moment, we don't have a strategy yet. Yeah. We thought we had one, but our strategy fell down the drain.
I mean, we could, that one strategy could be to implement part of that primitive and have a private build of porch, you know, that has some additional functionality. But we we need to have that conversation.
Yeah. So if you do have the conversation, do you mind including me so I know what's coming into SMF?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. I think we're going to have it right now for anybody
Okay.
who wants to hang around.
Yeah. That's supposed to be the only parked item that I know of right now, right?
Yeah.
So is that if there's nothing else on the Scrum, we'll dive into that, and anybody's welcome to stick around. And
Just two items I wanted to very quick, John, on the license exception stuff. I think looks like that is going well. I think we'll get the exception for that. I think I also worked with Radu, and at this point of time, that's the only version, the Go version stuff is the only thing which is not the permissible one, either Apache, MIT, or BSD. So on that one, since it is the least restrictive one, I think we are getting +1s from all the TSC members in the email chain. So we are good on that one.
okay.
We have a similar question on the versioning scheme. So do you suggest that I send the same email to the TSA list? Because I think that is a little bit more involved rather than all the TSCs giving +1. So I thought, what is the best way to do that one? I mean, do you think I should? I put the message on the Slack. This is about what kind of versioning we need to follow for.
Yeah.
And we do not have the luxury to wait till 3AC meeting. Probably.
I would just
anyway.
say, as SIG release, I would say, here's what we're proposing, and just don't make it a debate. Make it a request for approval, and then they can just +1 it unless they have a problem with it.
Got it. So we'll discuss
SIG release needs to figure out what the SIG release wants to do.
Yes. We have a SIG release meeting after this, like you suggested. So if
turns out we do, because Rado put a lot of agenda items on a 6-week meeting.
Yeah. So I think if for some of us, Tal, Wim, and John, if you all can join that too, probably we can just finish off that versioning debate and then propose something.
That sounds great. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Let's get it done. I'm gonna give Denise permissions right now, but let's stay on those who are interested in the debate about how to resolve letting the SMF know about all the UPFs. Another strategy. Now this is actually this is crazy. Okay, can somebody, maybe I'll stop displaying.
So maybe let's first describe the problem, right?
The problem.
Yeah.
So problem number one, the UPF does not talk to NRF, so UPF existence is not known for anyone. So SMF would not be able to know.
It doesn't register with service discovery.
Yeah, it doesn't register with anything. So the 3.5GC way of doing it is to explicitly configure them on SMF. Then that sounds easy, because if that's the only thing they need, then N4 is the only thing you need. So it turns out they need a hell lot more. They want to have basically almost every interface information on UPF on the SMF. So on SMF they will have information on the N4 for sure, because that's how you connect. They want to have information on N6, so what data networks the UPF is connected to, and the UE pool that they're using. And then also, if you have an N3 or N9, they want that too. Okay. Basically, and almost everything they have on UPF deployment, they want that. So when Wim and I talk, we said, hey, that makes, if we create another structure, it's basically just a replica of UPF deployment. So can we just push UPF deployment onto the SMF package and just send it over? So that was why we were having that little discussion.
And maybe you could, maybe we can create another structure that's just a list of those, and then inject the list.
See, we have a reservation in app deployment to reference. Let's call it third-party CRDs. They can be any type. So it's kind version, API version, kind, namespace. So they can be anything. we don't have necessarily a list, but okay, if you have a list, we can if you have a list, how is that represented in KRM, John?
I mean, there's list types, but they're not. I think they're.
No, so on my side, how do you get all those UPF deployment packages information? They only store in gig, right? So I don't have that information.
Can we maybe just
have a list,
something like what?
But first of all, the question is, where do they get from? So today they are stored in packages, right? Now, what you have as a topology, you create PVS, right?
Yeah.
And the PVS typically has a fan out selector somehow, right? So if you get to know
the object selector is already the cluster. And then so I don't give you an explicit target repo. I'm just giving you the object. Actually the list. Well, and that's pretty much it. Actually, I don't have any policies and stuff set up there.
Let's think of something. So the SMF, the SMF. What we're saying is that the SMF package needs to learn about
listen to all the UPF packages, right? Because we could assume for now that in this cluster there's only one FreeFive-GC operator running. So as long as you know all the UPF packages, which by the way you could also find out.
You wouldn't, right? Because as I said, UPF. Well, so SMF runs on a centralized cluster, I guess, if you will, the control plane cluster. So. Yeah,
but Porch has all of them, right? So if you know the package name, right? Let's say you do a package name, so you scan through all the packages, you run through the package revisions, and you scan for the name, you get to know them.
Well, I would prefer to do it with labels because then we can have multiple instances.
Of course, I mean there's other ways, but I mean with package revisions, through package revision you can probably find it out.
Right. So yes, exactly. Right. So we could actually have in the SMF package there could be a label that says, here's the label for, we might need to build a special controller that goes and looks through the package revisions for any with that label, and then injects those in the package directly. Just build a another specializer that's just for FreeFive-GC that just does that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. As long as you know the label, what to look for, it's very easy to do because we kind of go to PRRs anyhow already. With iPad, you actually do that no matter what.
Because if you have a package revision, you know which package revision resource is pointing to, right?
Yes,
so and then that has the content.
If I may, I'm actually very glad that we're hitting this issue because I think this is a critical part of what we need to solve, right? Until now, we've kind of treated FreeFive-GC as a toy, but this kind of stuff is exactly how you design network services, right? Because there are always things that you need to cross-configure, right? That's the whole point of having a higher level orchestrator, right? In many of the scenarios.
That's one of the whole points of Nephew is that
exactly,
comes out.
Right. So let's please figure this out, very carefully. I don't want us to rush and make some decision here.
So I think that
my just purpose, we have already something FreeFive-GC, they have this NRF function. So maybe what we can do, we just add init container to UPFs, and they just go in somewhat similar structure, or even in that MongoDB.
Well, so actually the biggest problem for register with NRF is for UPF is UPF are the ones that we're going to run on different clusters.
Yeah, well, indeed,
so
there are different
clusters. You would not be able to access the NRF using just DNS. Just
okay, then we need something somewhere, right, to register itself and say I'm in this cluster, I have this IP address, and I have this label. And then, when we start SMF, we can delay it, have a init container which, goes into that, database, whatever, and ask, do you have something for me with this label, with this context? And if you don't, I don't start. If you have something to return, then it goes into and configures.
I think that's a good idea. So let me just summarize. So there's a couple different solutions here. One issue is that, So the SMF has to know, and it has to rewrite its configuration file when UPFs come and go. So that's part of the issue. Now, this could be done management cluster side by every time a UPF is added in our package revisions, we become aware of that through either a new primitive, or maybe for now a free5gc specific primitive that eventually evolves into a new primitive. On the management cluster side, that's watching for certain package revisions and injecting resources into the SMF sort of central package as it's needed. So it's the same. It's just like what you said, Dennis. There's a registration, and then there's an interpretation of that. It could be done completely on the management cluster side. So that's one strategy. The other strategy is what you're suggesting. Let's do it at runtime, and I think that's a good strategy too. And we have the NRF. I wouldn't use an init container on the SMF because this should not be an init time thing. So instead, I would have the operator, the SMF operator, monitoring for new UPFs and rewriting the SMF configuration file. So that's another totally valid option. Init container to register the UPF is fine because that's like when it comes up, you do it once. But the SMF,
but that's not the full solutions because you need more than just the way to connect to it. The problem Viman had was the more we look at it, the more information it needs out of the UPF. So
but the UPF it's a init container could register. Oh, the NRF doesn't have.
Yeah, but then does NRF even have database entries to hold those informations? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, guys, we're going into a very core feature that I think we need in FEO2, which is discovery. I think this is exactly what has to be solved. And John, you're calling it runtime, but I'm calling it the delegated solution, right? It is something that can't be solved in the management cluster alone, because exactly those day two changes, what happens if a new UPF comes up? If you're going to route all of this through the management cluster, then we're not innovating anything. This is exactly how things work today with orchestrators, and scalability, response times, et cetera, are very awful to handle these. Day two is awful in telco orchestration.
Look. I understand the scalability is an issue, but also we should understand that 3.5GC, 5G core itself, it's not going to be present in thousands of sites. It will be 10, 20, or something like this. It's not run, right?
Sure, yeah. But, I mean, we can solve this in many ways, but let's try to think this through and solve it as an FEO feature moving forward, right? I'm not trying to just solve free5DC because this issue will come up again and again with network functions, right? The whole idea is that they're part of a service, right? There's always a higher level configuration, a topology.
I understand
but just to be clear, just to be clear, in 3GPP, this is solved, by the way. I think this is a specific issue to free5DC,
right? For 5G,
because there is a discovery mechanism built
exactly.
in 3GPP.
Exactly.
So we don't have to do anything here. It's basically there. It's just we have to deal with free5DC.
I understand, right? We're talking about 5G core here, right? So there are management protocols that actually do handle it at runtime, that the components do talk to each other and can update each other. However, there's still the initial moment of discovery, right? So let's say you raise a new UPF.
Even that is covered by the discovery protocol, because you subscribe to a new UPF and you get a notification that the new UPF got born and you use it. That's how it's solved in the real
right.
time.
Sure.
There is nothing. What I'm trying to say is that
right. Like we want to solve.
There's nothing for Nephew to solve. I think we have to solve the free5GC problem here.
But I tend to think like 3GPP may have solved it, but like next use case might not have. So I do think there is something there that we want to understand how to solve this problem in different ways. But I think we're 10 days from release. So
correct.
I agree. Let's solve the problem this week that we can solve.
Strategy is let's solve the problem, and then let's learn from that. And then in the next version, we take that data and we figure out like a better primitive, right?
So I have a POC that I played with some of these features, and my system of injection also allows overrides, right? So you could take an existing package.
But Tal, for example, take console, right, of HashiCorp. It does all of that for you out of the box.
Right.
You don't have to do anything. So there is solutions today that are developed in the market, are being consumed, are actually used in production at large scale. So in my view, this is a solved problem. We just have to tap into one of those, and it basically, you get notifications when new UPFs get born, and it's just you subscribe to the service discovery of that thing, and he distributes it across different fleets.
You're talking about something else. Wim,
No.
I've already moved beyond that. I've moved beyond that. I'm not talking about runtime now. I'm talking about the porch feature for injection and merging. Okay? I'm not, I understand. We're not going to do that now. Okay, I'm talking about a different feature, right? So if we're trying to solve it right now with injection, right? And our problem is that the injection feature isn't rich enough. I'm suggesting that injection can also do overrides, right? So if you have, say, a UPF deployed, right, in a package, right? So at the level of the topology controller, you can inject into that package and override things in the packages that you're using too, right? So you can change those configurations. So at that high level, you can set up all the data that you need, N3, everything, and override and inject that into what you're merging into the topology.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm talking about a management cluster solution.
Anne's got her hand up. She's had it up for a while. Let's let her.
Speaking as a person who has to implement this, once you guys decide an approach, I vote for what John and Steven said, which is let's do something for Free5 and Vim too. Let's do something to get the release out, and then we can circle back and we can mark it in documentation, in code, that this is specific to Free5 GC, and then go back and deal with a more generic solution. Or
I understand that, but I agree too, and we're moving beyond that. I suggested that we should address this later. I understand that we're not going to do it now.
Yeah.
There's no need to keep reminding me of it. We're moving beyond.
No, well, she had her hand up before you said that, so it's okay.
Yeah, I had my hand up, but also the fact that, we start. I'm maybe I don't understand the problem fully, but it's not like just give me a data structure and then I will parse it and get the information. It seemed the easiest way to get this done, right?
Yeah.
The question is how to get that data to you. That's the issue.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, Tal, I don't think actually what you're saying is that different than what. What I'd like you to do is take a look at the. Let me find the issue. So, as we evolve the package variant and injection and stuff, so I had already laid out a discussion. What is that? I started a discussion here about what are the shortcomings of. Where's the chat? Oh God, I'm not used to this tool. The shortcomings of what we implemented so far, and so I would love your input on that. It sounds like you have some other ideas. I also want to differentiate between the primitives and, like, we can build multiple parallel primitives, right? Like if the package variant primitive doesn't work for certain situations, or we can either enhance it or we can have a different primitive. I think what I'm thinking as an expedient solution to this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well, but the expedient solution in my mind is we have a bunch of specializers already that do stuff like look and allocate IPs and allocate VLANs and do approval and do, there's like 5 or 6 of them now. We could pretty quickly and easily add another reconciler, either to the existing Nefio controller or with a basic primitive that's like a multi-resource injection or something. Or we could even create a separate free5gc specific operator, which is like a pattern that we expect to see probably in the long run. That's a specializer associated specifically with this package.
Yeah, that's what scares me. I don't want us to. That seems like an endeavor that will have greater effects. So that's the part that I don't want to go, because I feel like building another controller. We have so many controllers already, right, on the management cluster, and I think we're losing like the complete picture of what we're trying to do. So I don't.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm at least losing the picture, right? But, so I think my thought is that this is exactly what the topology controller is for, right? That's the level where you do cross-function configurations, right, and relations.
That's true. I just don't, honestly, like where we are now is where we should have been at least 2 or 3 weeks ago with that if we were going to get it out the door, right? So that's what I mean by like, I think we need an expedient solution. Like, I'm very concerned that that's not going to make it, right? I totally agree. That's the point of the topology controller is I understand that thing and I understand that thing and I understand how to make them work together. Like, but it's just, it's just couldn't quite get there in time. So like we can make a narrower solution.
Well, but a narrow solution is to create yet another controller?
Yeah, it's like 50 lines of code.
Yeah, that's half a day work probably.
Yeah.
Or the other way to do it, just
the only thing. Sorry to interrupt, Antu. The only thing what we have to know is to know when to invoke or on what to invoke it. But sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the other way to do this is go back to hard coding all the information except for N4.
No, I don't want to do that.
That's big. No, we should not do that.
Yeah, sorry.
We don't need a whole nother
difference
binary.
between a release and
only
submitting.
It's one more file, basically, in the like. So there's certain patterns. This is what I was saying before. Like, we have the Nefio controller manager. The idea of it, right, is that it runs the vendor neutral, the vendor neutral reconcilers, and we always talked about the idea that we might have vendor-specific reconcilers, and those would run, but I don't want to run those in the same binary. So when I was talking about splitting off and creating a separate binary, that was more to establish the pattern that we can have both vendor-neutral and vendor-specific binaries. I have the same thing for, in the drawing, I show a cloud provider binary. So like for GCP, I want to do fleet discovery, and to do fleet discovery, I don't want to build that into the Nefio because it's a vendor-specific thing. I would run a separate GCP cloud provider controller. So we actually only run one, other than the base. We run Porch and we run the Nefio binary. I think those are the only 2 controllers. And there's like 5 or 6 specializers, one for IPAM, one for VLAN, there's a bootstrapper, the approval controller, a few others. So I don't feel like it's control.
But I do agree with Tal is that this is a hack, if I'm honest, but it should move into the injector side of the house, right? So it's a hack for now, but I think it should be a generic feature of the injectors going forward potentially.
I think we could potentially solve it with a primitive, better injection primitive. Yes.
Yeah.
So if we have to do something hacky, which I understand we have to at this point, why not do it hacky exactly at that? Create something for the injection controller that we know is not going to be permanent, but sort of an experimental feature.
That's exactly what
if we can do it.
Yeah. So that's what I said. There's 2 different ways we could do that. We could do it in the we could do it as its own specializer, which is really easy, or I could do it something in the Porch code, in which case we'd have to have a special build. Like with the approval controller, I just did it in Nefio because I'm like, theoretically it's totally generally applicable, but we needed it and I didn't want to, do an upstream thing. I think we can do the same thing here.
So now what is the end-to-end flow? So a topology comes in, what should the topology do?
I think we should still wait, Steve.
Okay, so the wait is
like
okay. I'm already implementing the wait, so that's fine. So after
because
the wait,
one way to do it is, okay, either you give us a hint or you don't. If you don't give a hint, what the controller has to do is go through all the package revisions.
So how do you present that hint? So I have the information on this two UPFs are connected to this one SMF. So how do I convey that information?
Wait, so I think the information that we need is in packages. Okay.
Okay.
So the best way to do it is if you give us a package name and a repo where this just a package name. That would be the best, because the workload clusters are anyhow tagged. And if how do I
give it to you though?
But what about this? So if the SMF package contains some sort of sentinel resource, right? That says,
correct.
It says, hey, I'm an SMF. I need to know about the UPFs, and here's my label. Here's the labels. I want to know about the UPFs with this label. And then the specializer sees, oh, there's a new package revision that pops up. It's got this resource in it that says, that's a sentinel resource that says, I need to know about UPFs with this label. It sees that, and then it goes and looks through all the package revisions for any with that label that are, I guess, a UPF. Maybe I don't know if it's just a label or a name and a label. Yeah, I can see, like,
whatever.
And then it needs in that destination package, or that UPF package, it needs to be able to read. It needs the UPF deployment to be ready. So it needs to be able to check this condition of the UPF deployment, and when it's ready. So maybe it needs to first. It wakes up, it sees the Sentinel resource in the SMF package. It says, okay, it finds all the UPF packages that match and creates conditions that says, I'm waiting for these to complete, because maybe they're not complete yet. And then as they complete, it's injecting them. Once they all complete, it's done.
So again, how does that work? So on when I create the SMF PVS, I'll give them an extra label.
You could provide some context, but not package context. There is another, what we recently did for, what did we do again? Let me have a look what I did.
So you'd include a resource in there. We'd have to define some resource that's basically a sentinel. It's just a flag to tell the specializer what you need. So it would be like, I need UPF.
But it can be even simpler, I think, John, because he is going to fan out the UPFs anyhow, right? So he will probably in the PVS will say this is the package name, so he can already tell that, I'm assuming.
Well, if we go with the implementation now, which is holding off SMF package PVS until I detected all the other UPF package revisions are available, then I know the package name that way.
Correct. So indeed, so if you just inject the package name that you need for UPFs, then that's enough.
Where do I inject this? Because I don't run injectors myself. Right.
So just one question. Sorry. What if UPF I install one SMF in UPF? We may say we do not support it for R1, but what if we are adding another UPF to an existing configuration?
So that we will not do for now, Bala, right? But that's the enhancement. So we are, I think, talking about a hack for R1.
No, I think that's what work, right? Like, so if we're doing it, okay. So the SMF package has inside the package. This isn't in the PVS label or anything. It's in the package. You have a resource that says, I want UPFs, and I want UPFs with this label. When you instantiate the SMF package, you're going to set that label in there to whatever your label is for your topology name or whatever it is, right? I don't know. We'll have to, whatever label we're going to use to tie all these things together.
And that would be through a resource like we do for workload cluster, John, right?
Yes.
So it's similar to that, right? So we create like a UPF dependency resource or whatever we call it, and that has this label, gets this label during injection.
Exactly. During the creation of the SMF package itself, not before you create the PVS for SMF, but are we going to create a PVS for SMF? Are we going to have it across more than one cluster, or is it just going to be in one cluster?
It's something that matches a particular cluster label that will be spinning up a new SMF template, right?
So yes, I think I would suggest to use a PVS, John. Although it's scheduled to one, we can always use it for more later on, right? And then we have one mechanism. For
I just want to understand. So then you're going to have at some point you're going to have an instance of an SMF package, and it's going to have this resource in it. Oh, we're supposed to be at the other meeting.
Yeah. But we are close, so let's finish maybe. Because,
okay, and then there's a controller out there. There's a reconciler out there that's watching all package revisions, and it's looking at them and it's seeing, just like we do with IPAM or VLAN, it's looking and it sees this UPF dependency resource, and it says, okay, oh, there's the label. So I'm going to go look at all the package revisions that are associated, that have that label, and I'm going to look inside them for a UPF deployment resource, and I'm going to copy it into, or the pieces of it I need, into the SMF package directly.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, and it's going to raise conditions for each of those so that we know when they're all done. So then later on, if a new cluster pops up, you get a new UPF package, it's got the right label. Your controller sees it, and it generates a new draft on the SMF package as well with the updated configuration, which then still needs to be approved and flows through to the operator, which regenerates the config file and does it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's a little awkward.
Topology name with little too much catch-all, because in the way we do it is right now the topology may contain more than one SMF, in which case you partition it such that not all UPFs on that topology would be connected to the same SMF.
Well, and that's where we really need the topology controller. That's where this hack completely falls through, right? It's too simplistic. But I don't know if we can get there. So
yeah, for R1, that seems to be the way. But what I would propose is, if you look at specialization, we have an entry which is NF deploy. So an NF deploy can see if that resource is there. He will set the condition, and then the specializer will use it. And then, so that's the flow that we have today, also for IPs and stuff like that.
Yeah, you could do that with this different labels, Stephen. So your different SMF instances could have different labels, so they're associated with different UPFs. Yeah. It's still like, I think like Tal's point, it's kind of like rigid as far as being all done on the management side, but I'm not sure we have a solution right now otherwise.
Well, why can't we put something in the topology controller? If we do something hacky, why not put the hack there for now?
Because I'm not sure it's going to be running. Like, we don't have it even running right now. Like, we don't have it all merged. We don't have like. Anyway, that's just another record. It is kind of. They're all running in the same binary. So like, it would be another. Like, we can talk about that, but like, I just want to make sure we get to a solution that we can deliver this week. So
are we saying that topology controller is a stretch goal? It's not. We're not sure it's going to be.
Yeah, it's a stretch goal.
Okay, I thought we moved beyond that. Okay, I guess we're.
I mean, yeah, at this point it's a stretch goal. I would love to see it in there, but it's a stretch goal right now.
Okay, yeah. Now I understand the real issue. Okay.
Yeah, that's the only reason. Otherwise, I'd be like, let's put it in there. Let's do it. I just.
Okay.
Well, I have code, but then the code is not conforming to your reconciler breakdowns and all that stuff. So it's still just an independent controller.
Yeah, it's just not integrated right now.
It's not integrated.
It's not clear how much work there is there, and like, I don't know. I mean, I think we can quickly.
I mean, on the flip side, if you want to run
both strategies, right?
If you run an topology controller as an independent controller that is not part of an FEO controller, I think that I can crank out very quickly.
So that's like the old Summit code. NF
no, not old Summit code. So I have code running, as I told you in Arwen. The problem for the code running is it's not. So last week, John told me during one-on-ones that there's a way you integrate with the FEO. Operator.
Well, you can run it as a separate binary if you want. I don't care. Like, it would be better if it runs in the one binary. Then we don't need a separate package. We don't need. It's like less management, but it can run as a separate. Like, it's not that. So here's what I suggest. So we can look at, we can run both. We can build it. So I really want us to be able to deploy a very simple topology without having the topology controller, just using the primitives. And maybe we have to add this other little extra primitive for it. But like, we can do both. I think that we can, since topology is a stretch goal, if we think that's the best place to integrate it, let's think about how to integrate it there. But I think literally within probably 2 to 3 hours, I can put together a controller that does the hack, right? So
yeah, I'm even thinking it doesn't have to be a controller really. I actually think it's totally doable with the package variants as they are. So you could just do a kubectl apply, really, with your whole topology. You don't need a controller to generate that. I mean, you would have to give some thought to it and look at the documentation to know what to inject where. But we'll include an example that does that, right? So people can also edit and play with that example.
I think that was the problem, is the injection mechanism isn't quite, because it's a sort of very, like,
I know, yeah. I'm reading the, I did read the feature too. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying, that feature, the injection, I understand it needs to be improved. Maybe that's where we can hack right now. So in the package variant controller, maybe we can have a slightly hacky version that allows us to do what we need to do right now. And we'll consider it, yeah, this needs to be redesigned for the future. But for now, here's something that can work for our purposes. So
we'll need a new Porch build for that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I can build a new Porch and we can push it to we have our own registry, so it doesn't matter. Like, that's not hard to do. I did that previously. I can look at that. I can see what that. If we're talking about, like, I want, like, that sort of version 2 of that feature, right? There's a couple different evolving ideas in there, and
right. I know. I want to join that debate. It's just at this point, I have ideas of how to do it too. As I said, I would do it a little bit differently than how it does right now. But I think it's solvable there. I think if we can find, part of our whole idea of using Porch here, that this is our main use case, and we're allowing Porch to do what needs to be done so that Nephew could be successful, right? So even if it's like a temporary, I don't want it to be a temporary fork, right? We'd rather it be upstream, but it can be an experimental feature in package variant. I mean, we can put it in such a way that it won't influence other users of Porch, right? That it's like very specific.
I'm not worried about that, especially we wouldn't put it upstream right now, but it's more, let's talk, maybe like we're 10 minutes into the other call.
Yeah.
Here, like, maybe we should get to the other stuff and we should have this debate through the issue, but or through Slack or whatever. But I think it's almost a separate feature. So we talked about dependency management for a long time, and this is a little bit of a take on that.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
And right, so I want to make sure it's the right, that I'm not even sure that package variant is the right place to put that primitive, although it might be, because I start to, like, in that discussion, I start to talk a little bit about that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it can, because I'll remind you, my assumption is that topology controller should never be a necessary component, that you can always do it manually and create the topology with the primitives, right? That's kind of what we always talked about, I think, when we talked about topology, right? That you could just use the building blocks, or you could use that. So the topology controller shouldn't be do heavy lifting in terms of discovery, and it should be, here's a design, right? And now let's deploy that design, right? But that design can be created manually too by somebody who's knowledgeable enough about the primitives. So
yeah, I mean, that's like anyway,
so we're trying to balance here two things. We know we want to solve it right, and we all have different ideas how can it be solved for day 1 and day 2. And we also know that we have like 4 days to solve it. So we're trying to balance here things too. So yeah, I'm with you, John. I don't feel comfortable about changing Porch in a really hacky way, but I also think like, well, we'll need some sort of compromise here. And if topology controller won't work, I think adding a new controller is the worst solution myself. But if you guys think it will be,
so
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of like, if you take a look like at the approval controller, right? It's a very narrowly focused small thing that does one thing, and this is the sort of thing we're talking about. Well, let's get on to SIG release. Should we switch to the other? Because we're like, should we switch to the other actual thing, or did everybody?
I requested
Rado is here actually.
So probably
Okay.
What we could do is,
do you want me to stop
conclude
the recording and restart it, Bala, so we have two separate recordings for those, or?
that's fine. The other thing is, if you think we need a few more minutes to conclude this topic, that's fine too. Because I
think we need a few more hours. Like I think that we've concluded in the sense that we know we need to do something, like Tal said. We've got just a few days. There's some debate maybe about exactly what that is, but I don't think we're going to solve it in 5-10 minutes. I think it's going to be a discussion we have longer over Slack or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Do you agree, Tal? I mean, what do we do? I don't want to take everybody's time unless they're really interested in this topic.
This is very interesting problem. It's like you said, it's a bigger dependency management problem. Yeah, let's do it's okay. I think we are circling at this point of time, I guess. I think we all know we need to do something more expeditious to solve the R1 issue.
Yeah, I think maybe we need to just write up a little blurb on 2 or 3 different strategies. One is what we would do. Well, I mean, we said we want something to work doesn't rely on the topology control. So, Tal, I guess what would you do in the package variant specifically? I haven't thought about that or looked at my latest proposal and thought about it in terms of this. It might support this, but I'm not sure because it's really keyed off of something slightly different, whereas this is a little more dynamic. And then I can write up the proposal that I'm saying what it would look like, and we can maybe have that discussion, because I think that that's probably the easiest way to get it resolved. What do you think, Tal? Does that sound reasonable? Do we lose you?
No idea.
Okay. All right.
Anyway,
well,
so for my side, I'll try to get the some sort of topology controller PL out so you guys can look at what it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't have the solutions because now the solutions is on the specializers anyway. So what I would do, as I agree with Wim, is on last Friday is it would wait for all the UPF deployments to be there before we send those SMF. So that's what it does today.
Okay.
Because even with the labels and stuff like that, you never know whether you have them all.
Yeah, because
right?
the only thing missing is how to convey the topology information to the specializers or lower down to the pipeline. That's the thing that I'm still not knowing what's going on.
So the problem is even for the control. I mean, the fact that if Steven would wait and hold up, then at least the specializer will know that they are all there.
Yeah.
The problem is because even during the control or whatsoever, John, he scheduled every minute, I think. So they are if you run them all in parallel, depending on how fast or how you run it, you might have 1 or maybe 2. Sometimes you have them all. Sometimes you have half of them.
Yeah.
It's not synchronous, right? So it's completely asynchronous right now, the whole flow.
Mm-hmm.
So as such, that's why I was of the opinion if Steven holds off because he can know, then at least it's a hack anyhow.
I guess, but then we're taking the dependency on the topology controller, right? Like we can't deploy.
Yeah, let's make the simplest thing that we can implement out of topology controller, right? So
see,
the
way to solve that independently is have an approver controller that only approves if all the UPFs are approved. So it's similar to the.
We can do that.
You still need to do that.
Such that if we create a condition.
You would approve that only if all the connected UPFs on that SMFs are actually done. So,
Yes.
so somehow that topology information still needs to be conveyed.
That's why I was always of the opinion to when you schedule that package, right? So at some point they are all together. If you can have somehow an information of what I call the owner of the package, let's call it a label. This is basically the collection of these things. If you can convey that, then that is kind of your thing that holds it all together.
I mean,
And
I think
that,
that you always have the issue of they can come and go, right? So they're never,
yes.
You never know they're complete. So like the sort of the sort of like temporary solution, like the best solution is the topology controller knows ahead of time how many there are going to be, and so it can.
No, and then it's watching the change set. So if there's if user reconfigure and say that I add a UPF, it would detect that too. So that's okay. That's not the problem. The problem is, so holding off is a hack, but it does work. That's also okay. The thing that I'm still puzzling is conveying an information down, which is okay. I can send the code out without that conveyed. We can debate on how to convey it for now, since like we have such a short period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think we have a couple different strategies. Like let's just write them down and then we can debate them.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe the easiest way. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Why don't I stop the recording and restart it, and then we'll have two different recordings so people who aren't interested in that.
Yeah, sure. It's not going to overwrite, right, John? Just want to make sure.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, the title would be different, but I guess it's okay.